Hello everyone, welcome to the session. We'll see impulse turbines in this session. First, what is impulse turbines? The energy inlet for the impulse turbines is kinetic energy. The energy inlet for impulse turbine is kinetic energy, and Pelton wheel is one of the impulse turbine. And now we'll see the schematic diagram of Pelton wheel. We'll try to understand this schematic diagram of Pelton wheel. First, here we have a shaft, okay, and for this runner is attached, and the next to this particular runner, buckets, we can also call it as vanes or blades, is attached to this one particular runner. And now once again, this is your shaft. On that shaft, runner is there. On that particular runner, again the buckets or vanes or blades are fixed. And now here we can see the nozzle, okay, from which the jet is impinging on a blades, and the two from which the high kinetic energy jet is coming out. And the next one, this is your pen stroke, from where some fluid from the dams or some fluid from the dams will come to this, and this is your spare, from which we can control the velocity or fluid that is, jet which is coming out of the nozzle. We can control that. And moreover, and this is your case bat, which is used to splitting of water outside of your total Pelton wheel. So it will be act like a safeguard to the Pelton wheel, and even for the humans who are working under that Pelton wheel. And the next one, coming to this, and this is your brake nozzle, okay, which is used to stop this Pelton wheel rotation. For example, simply after you cutting off your jet from the nozzle, even after cutting that, your Pelton wheel will rotates, right? Your wheel goes on rotates, just like your fan. After switching off your fan, your fan will rotates, right? So in the same way, after cutting the jet, the Pelton wheel also rotates. To stop that, for any emergency sake, if you want to stop that rotation of the Pelton wheel, we are going to use this brake nozzle, which will impinge a jet on backside of your buckets. And now if you section this bucket, okay, how it is going to be, you can see here, this is your section part of your total bucket. So single bucket, like this part, section part. And now here you can see the curved one, and in middle we have a splitter, okay, again it will like a curved one, right? So now this splitter is will mainly, you can see these splitters in the Pelton wheel buckets. And now after the jet is striking, it will splits into two halves, okay, splits into two halves, and you can see the angle over here, which is like 10 to 15 degrees. And we'll see the velocity triangles of this particular Pelton wheel and the work done of the Pelton wheel. And see here, you can see the shape of your Pelton wheel, okay. Just now we've seen the shape of your bucket, and now this is your inlet, okay. This is your inlet triangles. The first one, the jet will strikes the bucket with the velocity v1. So v1 is the absolute velocity with which it is striking the bucket at the center. After striking the bucket, the jet, after striking the bucket, it will moves, the blade will moves with a velocity u1, okay. After striking the bucket will moves with a velocity u1. This v1 is the velocity of the jet, and because of these two, like there is a formation of a relative velocity, which is like vr1. That means vr1 is a relative velocity, which is v1 minus u1. That means, see, it is striking with the velocity of v1, right? But it won't move or it won't travels with velocity of v1. The bucket will moves with the velocity of u1. Okay, so that means there is some certain relation is there between these two velocities, right? And that we call it as a relative velocity. Okay, and this relative velocity is less than your v1. Clear? And we can write this vr1 as v1 minus u1. See, this is your vril velocity with which it will move or vril, and you can see here vw1 vril velocity and the absolute velocity is equal in the Pelton wheel case, and that too in the inlet. Clear? And here the jet is not impinging on the tip with respect to some angle or at the middle with respect to some angles, right? So we don't have any angles. This is a total linear jet is striking on the blade. So here we have the jet angle equals to 0 and the blade angle is equals to 0. This is your jet angle and this is your blade angle. And for the Pelton wheels, Vf1, which is flow velocity, and the jet angle and blade angle are 0. We don't have any flow velocities here, right? After striking this, the jet will comes out from the tip of your blade, and first here what you're going to get is v2 absolute velocity of your jet outlet. Okay, and the next the blade will move in this particular direction. Okay, after striking it will move in this direction, and because of these two velocities, outlet velocities, which is like absolute velocity and the blade velocity, it will forms a relative velocity which is vr2. It is relative velocity of outlet. You can see here, which is like beta is making some angle with respect to the horizontal, right? So what is beta? It is the jet outlet angle with respect to your velocity, absolute velocity v2. That means this v2 is making some angle with respect to the horizontal. See, actual in case it is a acute one. Okay, how can you say this is a acute angle? See here, this is your horizontal line, right? So from this particular point the jet is moving in this particular direction. Now what is your angle here? It is less than 90. So this beta and this beta are similar angles, right? Or alternate angles, right? So this is acute and this one is also acute. Okay, and next coming here, this is your vril velocity. Okay, you know this is outlet blade velocity, and we already seen that this flow velocity and the vril velocity are the components of the v2. Flow velocity and the vril velocity are the components of the absolute velocity. And what is this pi angle? This is your blade angle by which the relative velocity is making with respect to your horizontal. Clear? And now here we can assume this as a frictionless one. This is when it is frictionless or when the blade is very smooth, then we can make the blade velocities inlet and outlet or same, and that we can simply write or say as u simply. Okay, and the next coming here, and this is your angle of deflection. See, actually you have to get the jet after striking the blade in this direction, but because of these tangentials or like because of this curve, it is going in that particular direction, right? The jet after striking the blade is going in this particular direction. Now what is the deflection of that particular jet is nothing but pi, but this is your deflection that is taken by actual jet outlet to this particular path, right? So the difference between the angle between these two particular paths is angle of deflection, which is 180 minus pi. Okay, pi, and this pi is equals to this one. And next we will see the relations. See, here you can see one thing, like VW1 is equals to V1 by this triangle, right? And the next here VR2 is equals to K into VR1. What is this VR2? Relative velocity outlet, and this is your relative velocity at inlet. And what is this K? K is a friction coefficient. Friction coefficient. And now we think that this, we are assuming it as a smooth one, right? And this blade has a smooth one. For that smooth one, your K equals to 1. For the smooth blades, K equals to 1. We'll see the relation for VW2. We know what is VW1 is, which is like directly we can take V1 for the Pelton wheels. You have to check that it is only for the Pelton wheels. And moreover, first you do one thing, just bring this U2 to this side. What happens? It will become as VW2 plus U2. That means from this total triangle, okay, from this total triangle, this is your adjacent side, which is like VW2 plus U2, and this VR2 is your hypotenuse. Is it right? Now what is cos alpha? VW2 plus U2 divided by VR2, right? So after taking this cos pi, if you simplify that, what you're going to get is VW2 is equals to VR2 cos pi minus U2. Again, you when you're thinking that these blades are smooth one, that means if there is no friction, then U2 is U. You can say like maybe U1 or U. You're simply saying it as U. What is VR2? And we can simplify that VR2 here, like if it is a smooth one, when you're considering it as smooth one, you can directly take VR1 also. That means VW2 is equals to VR1 cos pi minus U. And now with the horizontal, it is making like angle beta, okay, and by the alternate angles we can write that beta here, which from this angle you can say that beta is a acute one. So now for the slow runner, beta is less than 90, which is a acute one. In that case, you can take VW2 as positive. For the medium runner, your beta will be equals to 90 degrees, okay. At that particular point, your VW2 will neglected. Why? Because your V2 is shifting to here. So at this particular point, your VF2 is equals to V2, okay. When beta equals to 90 degrees, your VW2 is equals to 0. And the next one, for the fast runner, your beta is more than 90. We can check here. So for with respect to the horizontal, it moves like this. So now your beta angle is this one, which is more than 90 degrees. Now beta, what you're going to get is this, which is like, okay, beta, which is more than 90 degrees. This angle is more than 90 degrees. At that particular point, it is a faster runner, and you can take VW2 as a negative one. Why? Because your VW2 will shift from here to here, and this will be your VW2. Clear? You won't get this VW2, you're going to get the VW2 here. So you can see these three cases. You already seen all these three cases in the impact of jets. Okay, once again, now we seen here also in the pulse turbines and the two Pelton wheel. And now we'll see the work done for the Pelton wheel. Here, the force exerted by all these things we already seen in impact of jets. Force exerted by the jet of water in the direction of motion is given by, this is your force, okay, which is like m dot into your VW1 plus VW2, which is like real velocities. And why you're taking here positive means your beta is, okay, your beta value is less than 90 degrees. And the next, work done by the jet on your runner per second. This is your work done per second jet on runner. see, this is the work done per second. We can see the work done per weight and work done per mass also. We'll see later. So this is your work done per second, and this is the work done by the jet. Okay, this is the work done by the jet on your runner per second, which is like force into velocity. And if you substitute here, you're going to get this equation. And the next one, work done per second per unit weight. Here the work done per unit weight of water striking. So this is your work done, and this is per weight of water striking, and this is the work done per second formula, and this is the weight, which is like mass into gravity. So after simplifying this, what you're going to get is this one, which is like 1 by g vw1 plus vw2 into u, and this is the formula for work done per second, and that too per weight, right? So if you want to write work done per second per mass, okay, if you want to write work done per second per mass, you just neglect this, and this term will be work done per second per unit mass. And now we'll see the kinetic energy. The energy supplied by the jet at inlets is in the form of kinetic energy is equals to half mv square. We know this. Here you are taking like mass. This is your only kinetic energy, but if you're taking the kinetic energy per second, then you have to take m dot, which is like mass per second, which is rho av. And the hydraulic efficiency we seen here, hydraulic efficiency means work done per second divided by kinetic energy, and this is per second and this is per second. If you substitute the previous work done per second formula and the kinetic energy per second formula, what you're going to get is this one for hydraulic efficiency. But see, here we know what is VW1 from the previous. Okay, VW1 is V1 and VW2 is equals to VR2 cos pi minus U2, right? If you substitute all those values here, what you're going to get is this one. This is the hydraulic efficiency if you substitute your VW1 and VW2 in the equation. And you know what is this? Friction coefficient. But for the smooth surfaces, it will be 1. And now what I required is, I required the maximum efficiency, like maximum hydraulic efficiency of the Pelton wheel. See, your maximum efficiency will happens only when your velocity of the wheel is half of the velocity of the jet. Then only you're going to get the maximum hydraulic efficiency of the Pelton wheel is maximum when your velocity of the wheel is half the velocity of the jet of water at inlet. That means this is your velocity of wheel or blade, and this is the velocity of jet, which is absolute velocity, or and this is your maximum efficiency. So if you substitute these value, okay, which one, this u equals to v1, then what you're going to get, like if you substitute all those values here, like if you substitute the u value here and here, then your hydraulic efficiency will be this one. After substituting this u value in the above equation, what you're going to get is this one. And now if k equals to 1, that means if there is no friction, if you are assuming that your blades are smooth, then your maximum hydraulic efficiency will be this one for the Pelton wheel. Thank you.